Which form is better is a conversation that I'm really getting tired of in the Dragon Ball community. And obviously I am comparing the God forms to just one singular new form in the Dragon Ball GT continuity, and that would be Super Saiyan 4. I think for the sake of the conversation, it's important to remove all biases from the argument in question here. Whether you personally like the form or not is irrelevant. Whether you personally think that one is better is irrelevant. We're just looking at objective reality here. From a design aspect of Super Saiyan God, the only real key indicators that a quote-unquote transformation has ensued was the fact that his eyes and hair are now a strong coat of red. And obviously he slimmed down considerably enough. Now, from a martial arts perspective, I can acknowledge the God form's unique choice of evolution when it comes to the transformations of Goku and Vegeta. Like, their fighting is a lot more practical and a lot more useful when their bodies are a lot more slimmer than the bulkier states, allowing for more flexibility and movement of battle. Now, it goes all downhill when you move on to Super Saiyan Blue. At least what Toriyama was going for, that is. Super Saiyan Blue has to be the laziest example of what I'm going on about in this video, because quite literally the leanness of the God transformations are completely abandoned for a more streamlined, traditional classic Dragon Ball feel when it comes to transformations. Change of hair color and they bulk up. But since he is utilizing godly ki, that's where the whole leanness aesthetic goes away and right out the window. I apologize for the background noise that you may or may not be hearing. I know some will use the argument that Super Saiyan Blue is calm and tranquil, which is the reason why Goku, at least in the anime, was able to harness Kaioken and use it at its most efficient states yet. But as we've seen in the anime and manga, Super Saiyan Blue literally functions the same as Super Saiyan 1 or the Grade 1 transformations when it came to the overall Super Saiyan. Goku is still able to use the form despite it needing a calm and tranquil mind and body to some extent. So this example does nothing but strengthen my argument as far as the whole it just being a color swap, because functionally it literally is just Super Saiyan, but very, very, very strong to an upteenth degree. Now I can already read the comments that are already going to say things like, oh, well, Super Saiyan God healed Goku in Beerus' fight, but one, that only happened in the literal anime, and on top of that, you could argue that was a way for them to avoid censorship. Because the entirety of Dragon Ball Super in the anime is very squeamish about showing any real fluids other than saliva when it comes to the damage these characters take. Like, the most their damage really goes through is quite literally a couple scratches and bruises, which are easier to animate and draw. Now let's move on to the legendary state of the Saiyans and the natural evolutionary step when it comes to the power and pinnacle of Saiyan forms. Just off a purely design perspective, you can obviously see that there is a much more variation when it came to Goku's physique and overall design. His hair is noticeably more longer, his muscles are a lot more pronounced and a lot more in size. He gets a distinct coat of red fur, and his eyes are akin to a kabuki mask or just an overall gothic aesthetic, some would say. The form overall gives off a more primal state of being. It is actually a physical transformation opposed to just hair changing color or getting longer. In the English dub of the anime Dragon Ball GT, Goku says, and I quote,
"Well, man, when I'm at this power level, it's hard for me to listen to reason. You see, I just lose control. I can't help myself. I just feel like destroying things at random."
As you can see, the form has a mental change when it comes to Goku's psychosis, or just overall mentality. The naysayers in the comments might say something along the lines of, oh, Goku's still an idiot, he is still doing things that is in Goku's nature, and right there is where you lose your entire argument. Goku is still a simple man, he is still a certain type of character. They would not abandon Goku's character just to make him edgy. I think that would be kind of silly if they went with that completely. Now when it comes to Gogeta being more silly and cartoonishly annoying, that is a conversation that can be had, but this isn't a video about Gogeta. But for the sake of the conversation, I will get into the Gogeta aspect of Super Saiyan 4 and the overall topic. Now, of course, we have to look at the context behind the reasoning to why they would do this. For one, the Shadow Dragon arc is the final arc in Dragon Ball GT. Whether it was planned or not is irrelevant. We have the benefit of hindsight. Now, obviously, in the moment that Gogeta appeared, The arc was at an all-time high when it came to their serious tone. And the developers behind GT obviously wanted to add some levity to the situation, because obviously Gogeta's power was more than enough to finish off Omega Shenron. How anticlimactic would it be for just Gogeta to appear, completely one-shot the main villain, that being Sen Shenron or Omega Shenron, whatever would have you, and completely decimate him easily without even a fraction of a second passing? I think showing the power of this evolved Gogeta is a lot more entertaining than just a simple one-shot, I would say. The power of Gogeta was so overwhelming and so immeasurable to where Gogeta himself can literally fool around in the battle. No danger of the Earth or himself or the entirety of the universe being threatened. Argue, oh well, they're on a time-sensitive situation, there is no time for antics and foolishness, and I would agree. But time is literally irrelevant when it comes to shows and media in general, because obviously real time doesn't even pass the same way. And with how inconsistent the timing is in Dragon Ball in particular, i.e. the infamous 5 minutes that Frieza uttered in the anime version of Dragon Ball Z. So one could easily use the argument that they were moving so fast, but in our vision, the anime, for our convenience sake, decided to show it in normal time. Because realistically, we shouldn't be able to see Goku, Vegeta, or any other relevantly strong character fight in any battle. For our convenience sake, we are allowed to see it the way we see it. Even the way Super Saiyan 4 is utilized within the series of Dragon Ball GT is worlds better than how the God forms are portrayed and used in Dragon Ball Super. Super Saiyan 4 just has genuinely more wins, and it has more presence in the series that it came from. For example, when the Super Saiyan God form appeared, it did not beat Beerus, not in the manga or the anime or even the movie adaptation that it appeared in. Now, of course, you have a point with the Resurrection F, at least as far as the anime and obviously the manga, even though the manga skipped over it. In the Universe 6 tournament arc, of course, Goku did not win with Super Saiyan Blue nor the God forms. He simply forfeited because he recognized that it had more strength, but due to the confines of a tournament setting, he could not utilize his full range of abilities. So that is another example of the God forms being, well, not effective, or as effective as they were hyped up to be. Now, moving on to the Goku Black arc or the Trunks arc, whatever your verbiage. Now, of course, in the manga and the anime's adaptations of events, the situation was resolved not with any flashy God form or technique used by Goku nor Vegeta or even Trunks in that instance. Instead, we have the Zeno button, unfortunately, so that is what we get. Another example of the God forms just not being enough to win the day in the battle. And of course, as the series of the manga and the anime continued to evolve, the different Saiyans transformations, or just the two primary main characters, Goku and Vegeta, of course, the God forms were completely abandoned for a new subsection of God forms, where we have Ultra Ego, and then, of course, we have Ultra Instinct in all of its new variations. Of course, more evidence to show that the God forms are essentially useless, opposed for the godly techniques that appear in the form of transformations. In